Okay, hello friends, it's Rey. I was asked on Twitter to make a tutorial for this sort of floating, schlurmy, I called it rain room, kind of a friend. So we're going for this underwater type look with this animation for this geometry right here. So we're going to get into how to do that today. So just to give you a heads up, we're going to be covering three major things. The first is going to be some transparency in TouchDesigner. The second is going to be some instancing and animation a little bit. And then the last thing is just going to be some very brief, very basic sort of post effects. So let's get started. Okay, so here I am in a fresh new project. I'm going to go ahead and delete all of these friends who just come with it. You are doing wonderful, but you are not what I want right now. I'm going to come double click to create my operator create dialog, and I'm going to hold down control so that I can select multiple operators at one time. I'm going to grab a light, I'm going to grab a camera, I'm going to grab two pieces of geometry, and then the last thing, I'm going to grab a render from my top page. Gorgeous. Wow, all of this together, amazing. All right, so I know that this is going to be my bounding cube. Stunning. I'm going to make this my wave. Let's begin with our transparency. So I'm actually going to turn display and render off for now, just so that we can see what we're doing. And I'm going to come into my bounding cube, and I'm going to say, hello, Taurus, you're wonderful and beautiful, but you're not what I need, so I'm going to delete you. I'm going to grab just a box. Beautiful. I'm going to grab a texture sop, actually. Amazing. And the last thing I'm going to grab, fun fact learned at the TouchDesigner Summit this year, if you hold any operator and press Alt-N, it will automatically create for you a null in the same family as that operator, and that's just very fun and wonderful. So now we have that, and I'm going to set that null to be the thing that displays and renders, just so that it's super easy for me. If I ever wanted to swap out this geometry for any reason, I could just plug it in really quickly, and that would be the only thing that would render. Okay, amazing. So I know that what I need to do is texture this thing in an interesting way. So I'm going to create a fong. Beautiful. I'm going to set on my render page my material to be this fong just by dragging it right over. Awesome. And then I need some kind of something to drive this, right? So I'm going to grab a noise, our very best friend in TouchDesigner, second only to feedback, of course. I'm going to do Alt-N again, give myself a null, and then for both, actually the color map and the emit map of my font, I'm going to set it to be my null, and I'm going to set my emit to be pretty much exactly that. Great, okay. So fun fact, on a Mac, if you have a trackpad, you can tap with two fingers to pull up this dialog. I'm just going to open this view so that you can see what we're doing. All right, so interesting. The problem that we're having here, right, is that our striations are actually going the wrong way. So there's a couple different ways that we could handle this. One of them is to come into our texture sop, make sure that our texture type is orthographic, and change the projection axis to be the y-axis. But I found actually that once this cube is transparent, that means that you can't always see the top and the bottom when you're looking from inside. So what I have been doing is having the projection axis be the z-axis, and then just coming out and super quickly just rotating my cube 90 degrees. Wow, a little bit of a hack, but hey, it works. So now that we have done that, so we want this to be see-through, right? So the first thing we have to do is come into our font, and we're going to go to Common, we're going to go to Blending Transparency, and turn it on. Wow! Nothing changed. Okay, that is because we don't currently have any place in our top here where the alpha is less than fully 1. So I'm going to go to my noise, I'm going to come to output, and I'm going to say alpha noise, right? Wow, look at that. I can kind of start to see through it. Oh, that's so pretty and fun. Okay, so this is cool, but it doesn't quite have that watery effect that I was really going for. So I'm going to actually manipulate my noise itself. I'm going to come in and I'm going to say I want the divisions to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to make my period bigger. So maybe I'll make it like 1.5. great. I don't want these little dots. I want the blobs to be kind of connected to one another. So I'm going to turn my harmonics all the way off, actually. And then I'm just going to do exactly what I did for my project. So I'm going to make my exponent to be 0.82 there. And then I'm going to, actually I want my divisions to be really, really stark. So I'm going to make my amplitude 2. Wow, that's kind of a lot, right? But don't worry, we're gonna keep changing this as we go. Amazing. Okay. So now that we have this, I know that I want this to move like water, right? So I could come into my transform and I could say abs, ABS for absolute, and then time dot seconds. And that's actually going to be a little bit fast, so I will do times 0.1. So this could be great, but I actually recently learned from Matthew Reagan. Thank you so much, Matt. If you have any questions, his tutorials are wonderful. Just an incredibly splendid human being and artist and programmer. Definitely, that's the place to start if you are brand new to Touch. I learned from Matt that if one were just prototyping and looking at things, abs time is fine, but for things that we want to be running for a long time, it's actually better to use a speed chop, because while both a speed chop and abs time are just going to be two numbers that are going to increase forever, a speed eventually, once that number gets sufficiently large, it starts eating up your memory in ways that you don't really want, right? So it's great to be able to just press this little pulse button and reset our speed anytime we want. So the way that we use speed is we just drive it with a constant, and so I'm going to call this constant noise transform, fine, and I'm going to set this to be 0.1, great, and look at that, it just makes a number that goes up and up forever, and if we ever needed to, I could just pulse it and reset it. Awesome. So from now on, anytime I have to animate something in this project, I'm going to put it in this same speed chop so that I can reset them all at once if I ever have to, right? Great. Okay, amazing. I'm going to go ahead and export that. Beautiful. And look at that. That's really pretty. All right. So now we got to get this thing colorful, all right? So let's put a multiply. Beautiful. Again, on a Mac, if you do that same double tap thing that I mentioned with two fingers, you can insert operators as well if you click on the connector, so that's fun. I'm going to insert a constant. Amazing. And this number is going to be very specific, but I really like this color a lot, so I wanted the exact specific number. So what we're going to do is the red value is going to be 0.559083. 3, beautiful. The green is going to be 0.519, and the blue is going to be that, and this is our gorgeous girl. Wow, that's really pretty. Okay, so I like that a lot, but I do just want to make sure that I can always see through it. I don't really want blocks like this where at a certain point I can't see. So what I'm going to do to achieve that is I'm going to actually grab all of these first of all and just move them so I have more space, and it's on the same line. Gorgeous. Okay, then I'm going to insert a level. Awesome. And I'm just going to say that I want my opacity to be a little bit less so that it's always, yeah, there we go. So I can always see through it at some point. So that looks about right to me. Okay, beautiful. Wow, look, it's transparent. We did it. Good for us. So that's the first part. Now let's get into some instancing. Yeah. Beautiful. So I'm going to come to my wave. I'm going to turn display and render back on just so that I can see everything. And then I'm going to dive right inside. Oh, it's our Taurus again. Hello, my gorgeous girl. Thank you so much. Thank you. Next, we're going to grab a little circle sop. Great. Alt N for my null. There she is. Display, render. And I'm going to make my circle sop have a radius of 0.01. 0.01. Beautiful. Okay, so now we are going to use some instancing. Instancing is just a way to say to your computer, hey computer, I know you have a lot to think about, and I'm actually going to ask you to think about a lot more because I want you to draw a lot of geometry. But don't worry, I want you to draw the same piece of geometry over and over, and you will change things about it. You will move it around, you will perhaps rotate it, perhaps you will change its color, but you don't have to worry about recalculating this exact piece of geometry every time. So it saves you a little bit of calculation. So the way that we do that is we come to our geometry, we go to this instance page, and we're going to turn instancing on. It disappears. Why? Well, we haven't given it any data about where to draw this thing. We have just told it what it is going to be drawing. So I'm going to actually do this within my geometry just to keep my network pretty and clean. I'm going to dive inside, and I know that I want all of these circles to be drawn in kind of a grid pattern. You know what we have in TouchDesigner? A grid SOP. So I am not going to render this. I'm not going to display or render it. I'm just going to use it to give me data on where to put these, right? So I'm going to actually come in here. First, of course, I'm converting from one operator type to another, so it's always really good to have a null. And then I'm going to come in here and do SOP2. Beautiful. And I'm actually going to also drop a select because, I got to make this grid lie on its back. ZX plane. Beautiful. I know that I'm actually going to be transforming this this group of circles in the Y plane, right? So I only want TX and TZ. Beautiful. Okay. Then I'm going to grab a merge because I also have some more things that I'm going to want to control later. I'm going to finally put a null, and I'm going to call this instance. Great. So then I go back outside. I come to my wave, I say I want you to look for the operator that is one level / inside of you called instance. Great. And for your X channel, I want you to look for the channel called TX. And for your Z, I want you to look for TZ. Beautiful. And look at that. Wow, there they are. They're all right there. Okay, amazing. One last thing. I'm going to change my grid to have 32 rows and 32 columns just so that we can get a little bit more coverage. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, all right, so next thing, how do we get this animation that we want for all of our little circles here? Well, we are actually going to use a top to do that, right? So I'm gonna grab a ramp top. Beautiful. Something that's really important with instancing is that you make sure that you only ever send the same number of points in every channel of control, right? Because if you say, I'm going to give you information for 32 dots on the TX channel, right? Here's 32 TX positions, and here's 42 TZ positions. Your geometry is going to say, what? I can't, I don't know what to do with the rest of those, right? She's going to freak out, and we don't want that for her. We want her to be very calm and happy. So to make sure that we only have the exact number of points that we want, I'm actually going to come to my common page, and I'm going to change my resolution in the X to be the same as the operator called grid1 .par.calls, right? Because columns goes across this way, boom, 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 right? If we look at even, we can use the background grid to make us think of this easier, boom, 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 right? So that's X, right? And then I'm going to copy this expression, la, 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 boom, oh, gorgeous, and I'm going to say .rows for my Y. Beautiful. So now it has a resolution of 32 by 32 because if you think about it, what we're doing is essentially saying every pixel is now going to be a point on my grid, right? This is just another grid. So that's all we're doing. It's all super fun. I'm going to change this to be circular. And then what I want here is I want a really well-defined circle in the middle. So I found that the best way to make that happen is to just have a value here of that. And then I want to actually control this animation with the alpha channel. So everywhere it's black, I'm gonna make the value 0, but I'm also gonna make the alpha 0. So I'm gonna do that over here as well. Beautiful, gorgeous. Okay, stunning. Now I have my ramp. I'm gonna make another null. Gorgeous. And then I'm going to do top 2. Beautiful. And so I'm going to come in here because I know that so what it's doing right now is if I go to the crop, you can see it's taking just one row, and I gotta say, oh no, mama, I need the whole thing. Give me the full image. Beautiful. Okay, and now as we can see, it's all a little bit crazy, so I'm gonna grab a shuffle. La la la. Awesome. And I'm gonna say sequence channels by name. Incredible. So now I have my red, my green, and my blue, and my alpha. And I know that the channel that will have the most definite difference, right? I know that that's my alpha channel. So I'm going to come in, I'm going to grab a select. Awesome. And I'm going to say I want my alpha, and I want to rename this to TY because this is what I will be using to drive my Y transformations, right? Okay. The last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a math, because I want to define exactly how much this goes up and down, right? So I know that because this is a top, the values are always going to go 0 to 1. So I want to say that for the lowest value, for where it's 0, I want that to have a transformation of negative 0.5, right? And for the highest value, where it's 1, I want it to be 0.2. Beautiful. I'm actually going to rename these just for my brain. Range, TY range. Great. Okay. And then I'm going to move this over just so it's pretty. Okay, stunning. And input this. Beautiful. So now if I go to my geometry, I should be able to say TY. Wow. That's really fun and pretty. So that's a little bit drastic, right? That's a little, it's kind of more bold-y than we want. So I'm actually going to come in here, and to offset that, I'm going to insert a blur, just a bit, and then I'm also going to insert a level, and I'm going to bring the overall opacity down just a touch. There's a couple, I could also change this in the range if I wanted to, but I think that just for now, I kind of want that to be my control. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay. The last thing I gotta do is I definitely want to make this move. So I am just gonna animate, right, the phase of this ramp, because actually I will just pull up a viewer so she can see very easily as it goes. Because if I animate this ramp, I'm actually really animating all of my positions, right? So if I go phase, wow, yeah, that's what we want. That's what we want it to do. So I'm going to use my speed that I already have set up, right? So I'm going to come outside, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to create a new channel in my constant. I'm going to call this ramp, because that's what we're animating. And I'm going to set this to 0.06, right? And there's my new channel. Wow. So I could, if I wanted to, split my viewer and dive inside and export it that way, or I could write this little expression, and I could say, I want you to look for the operator that is ... that means one level above you, called speed 1, right? And then I want the channel that is called ramp. Boom. Wow. Yeah, that's so pretty and satisfying. Okay, that's very fun. Beautiful. Now the last couple things we're going to do is I like this, but I want the circles to move more. I want it to feel like more is changing, more is happening, and I also want it to feel more like water, right? So I can do that but with the same animation. So I'm actually just going to copy this, paste it twice, because I want 2 more things that I want to control. So I'm going to call this scale. Great. In here I'm going to rename it scale. And I'm going to call this rotation. Rotate. I'm going to call this spin. How about? And we'll do scale, range, and rotate, range. Great. Okay. So in my math, I know that for when the alpha is 0, I never want the circles to fully disappear, but I do want them to get pretty small. So I want them to get to 0.2, and I want them to get just as big as 1. And like their maximum size is going to be the maximum size that they have, right? And then for my rotation, ooh, I really want these to move. So I'm going to say go from negative 360 to 360. You go, mama, right? And then I'm going to connect these to my merge, which is going to also send them to my instance chop, right? Because it's connected. Yay. So I can just come to my geometry, go in here to my rotate. I'm going to say spin. Wow. Look, it's going. Oh, that's so pretty. Spin and spin. Amazing. And then for my scale, I'm going to call it scale. Stop. Scale. Boom. And scale. Wow, that's so satisfying. Okay, the last thing that we got to make sure we do is give her some kind of a material. So I'm just going to grab a constant. Awesome. This is just going to kind of make it emit, right? And then for my geometry, I'm going to go to render and I'm going to say I want your material to be the operator that is one level inside of you, / constant 1. Wow. Wow, she's so glowy and pretty. All right, so this is what we have currently in our render right now. That's really pretty. The last thing we want to do is we want to make these spin, right? So that means I need one more channel of control over in my speed chop. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to call this cube spin. Great. I'm going to set it to 1. Awesome. And then so I have my bounding cube and my wave, but because of the sort of texture trickery rotation that I did, I cannot just make this its parent because, as you see, that will flip it over, right? So I am just going to undo that, come over here to my bounding cube. I'm going to take the channel cube spin, and I'm going to export that channel to the y-axis, export chop, gorgeous. And then I'm just going to export the exact same channel to my wave so that they will spin at the same rate to the same degree. Beautiful. And now they spin together. And isn't that nice? Okay. One thing that I do want to talk about, because we are dealing with transparency, is this idea of render picking. So right now, if we go to our render page on both of our geometries, we have this thing called draw priority, right? And they're both set to 0 automatically. So sometimes when you are working with transparency, if it so happens that the draw priority of the transparent object that has something inside of it is higher than the object that is inside, this sort of effect will happen where they're being drawn in the wrong order, so you don't actually see the entirety of the geometry that's inside, even though your enclosing geometry is in fact transparent, right? So I just like to, if there's ever something that's inside of a transparent object, I just like to come to my inside object and just guarantee that there will never be an issue where that happens. So I'm going to say I want your draw priority to be the same as the draw priority of the operator called bounding cube, right? Dot par for parameter dot draw priority plus, it could be point, as long as it's incrementally larger, right? 0.1. Great. So now no matter what this draw priority is, the other one will always be able to see our wave, right? And that's what we want. Okay, so I'm going to set this back to 0, but I just wanted to bring that up. It didn't happen this time, but occasionally when I've made this, that was an issue, and I just wanted to make it clear. Okay. So now just the last thing we have to do is we're going to do some post-processing effects. So let's get right into that. So I'm going to come off my render and I am going to grab, actually let's grab a null first of all, just that way we can see what we're doing as we move down the line. Beautiful. And I'm going to actually change this to be the thing that I'm viewing so that we always have a sense of what's going on. Awesome. Okay. You know what, maybe I'll move my camera in a little bit more, just so that it fills our screen. Yeah, that's pretty. Okay, gorgeous. So, I'm going to grab some feedback. I love me some feedback. This is such a versatile operator. You will probably use it a lot. It's just great. I'm also going to grab a transform. No, not transform. Transform. Yes. Beautiful, beautiful. And then last, I'm going to grab a level. Operator, level. Beautiful. And then the last thing I'm going to grab is a composite top. Composite. Gorgeous. Okay. I'm going to set my composite to over. Beautiful. I'm gonna add the render to my composite. I'm gonna put the render on top of the feedback loop. I'm going to have my transform go 0.1 and 0.01 every time it goes through the loop. I'm going to change my tile to mirror, though in this case I don't think it matters. And I'm going to make my post opacity 0.7. Gorgeous. Okay. Last thing, we're just going to point the feedback. The target top is going to be this composite. And wow, yeah, so we can see that nice like blur kind of thing going off. All right, so this is the last thing. This is my very favorite trick with feedback. If you go to your transform and you go to your common, I'm gonna mask out the red channel. Yeah, so it has this nice like glowy like green part right here. Oh, look at that, that's really pretty. Okay, so that is about it. Now you know how to make the rain room. If you want, also you can play around with the different composite types. Sometimes like glow looks really pretty on her. Yeah. Ooh, look at that. It's so like crazy and cool. But yeah, so you can just play around. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I would be so happy to clarify on anything. Also, make sure that if you use any of these techniques, if you do anything with this, I would love to see what you make. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. And thank you for reaching out. It really means a lot to me. Beautiful. Have a great day. Bye.